Okay, now it's going.
Now we're going. Now we're live. What's going on, Dave?
Not a whole lot, Tony. It's Michigan, so it's cold. There's a lot of snow on the ground right now.
I've never been there. How are things going up there in Michigan? Yeah, I was wondering that because for 5 years while I was up there, um, we had one really bad winter while I was up there, but then like last year was a joke. Really, it was. It was a joke compared to. And I think what was funny is for those who don't know, I was transferred up to Michigan where me and Dave worked together at General Motors Lansing Delta. But I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, which is about 4 hours southeast. But what would always be funny, Dave, you never did this, but a lot of people would say, wow, you're from the South. Like it must be a lot warmer down there. And the weather's not that different between Youngstown, Ohio and Lansing, Michigan. It's not, we're more east than we are south, really. So it's really basically the same weather. But last night it was snowing like crazy here. And the first thing I thought of was, I wonder what's going on up there in Lansing, way up north.
I imagine it looked the same.
Yeah. We have like a light brush on the ground today. You can still see the grass, and it is cold though. It's like 21 degrees right now, I think, outside.
Yeah, I believe it's the same here.
Yeah. It doesn't fluctuate much between the two areas, to be honest with you.
It's really kind of crazy to not like get super sidetracked on weather, but how the weather's changed over the course of the last few years, because like this time of year would always be really cold, and then it went from being really warm like the last few weeks to just straight cold.
Yeah, there's no in between. When you go from fall to winter, there's no transition period.
No.
It's 75 degrees and sunny, and the next day it's a blizzard. But we're here, and if you're from the northeastern portion of the United States, you know what to expect. Some people make me laugh. One more thing before we get into today's topic. Some people make me laugh on social media where they start posting, OMG, it's snowing. And they like as if we don't have windows in our houses. Like we don't see this. We don't see it happening. And they're putting pictures out there and they're talking about, how dangerous. And I'm thinking, I've been doing this for 54 years. You didn't get the memo? This is what it does here in Northeast Ohio. That's like posting that. That's like being in Arizona and posting that there was a sandstorm. Like we know we heard about it. When you're from that area, so it's just funny when people do that. I always joke on social media with people about that, but that's not what we're talking about today. Anyway, yeah.
Today's topics are about protein.
Yeah, protein. Now, when you say protein, a lot of people say, "Wow, that's a broad topic. This show could be 5 hours long," and it could. But it's not going to be 5 hours because we're going to get into specifically protein powder. And even more specific, Dave, we're going to get into whey protein concentrate, whey protein isolate, and hydrolyzed protein. So when people are out there buying protein powder, those three different concepts are something we're going to dive into today. The good and the bad. Sometimes the good is not bad. Sometimes the bad is not good. It depends on who you are. But I think the best place to start really is whey protein concentrate. And I think whey protein concentrate gets a bad rap. A lot of people say whey protein concentrate. And so, folks, when you talk about whey, you're talking about milk, basically. And you have milk broken down into curds and whey, right? Just like the nursery rhyme, Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet eating her curds and whey. This is what she was doing. She was taking in protein. And when you take the whey concentrate, Dave, and for everybody out there, you are actually breaking it down into what you want to consider its simplest forms. But with concentrate, you're keeping a lot of the stuff in there. So when you're breaking it down into a powdered form and you're filtering everything out, you're still keeping in with concentrate a lot of the fats, a lot of the carbohydrates, some of the sugars, and other things that may be in there that wouldn't be in whey protein isolate. So a lot of people say, well, in concentrate, I don't want that because I don't want the fats and the carbs and the sugar. And for some people, that may be exactly correct, depending on your situation. And we'll get into that. But what I think a lot of people have to understand, though, is there's also some facts out there when it comes to concentrate that are actually beneficial for individuals, and why concentrate should play a role at some point for many individuals who can have concentrate. When you talk about concentrate, some of the things that are also bad in a lot of people's mindsets, when you talk to exercise science specialists, nutritionists, dietitians, gastroenterologists, they may not like concentrate for certain reasons. And one of them is, let me skip that part. Let me get to this first. When it comes to somebody who is looking for protein, I should say, regardless of whether or not you're a professional nutritionist, dietitian, and so on, you don't really get a good amount of protein in the product. Okay. So it could be anywhere. It's very iffy. It could be anywhere between 35% protein to 80% protein that's being filtered out. Not so much in the actual product in the bag, but just in the process of filtering out the whey. You can get anywhere from 35 to 80%. So you really don't know if you're looking for protein specifically for a specific reason. You have to understand that you're really playing in a huge gap there between not knowing if I'm getting 35% protein from the product that's being filtered or am I getting 80%. So that's one thing with concentrate that may not be beneficial. Another thing with concentrate that may not be beneficial is that if you're lactose intolerant. So lactose is very much present in the product. And if your digestive system is not equipped and you have that problem, you have that, that allergic reaction to lactose, and it causes so many different types of intestinal issues, it can definitely be something that people want to avoid when you're lactose intolerant. So in those situations, maybe concentrate is not the greatest thing for you. I think some of the other situations are if you're looking for specifically protein. We'll talk about why with whey protein isolate, why it may be more beneficial when it comes to working out and being in a fasted state. We'll get to that in a second. But when it comes to the concentrate, if you're looking for slow absorption and a longer digestive process because of the fats, because of the carbohydrates, it could be beneficial, whey concentrate. It can be beneficial because if you're looking for extra protein in your meal, so you're looking for a meal replacement, not just for protein to help build muscle. You're looking for minerals and vitamins and minerals and some carbs and some fats and a decent amount of protein to add to a meal where maybe you don't have as much protein as you want in that meal. Some people will break their meals down where they want to take in 25 grams of protein each meal. So Dave, if you take in a meal where the meal equates to 15 grams of protein, and you're missing out on 10 to 15 grams of protein that you want extra, this is where whey protein concentrate may be more beneficial just in that meal that you're taking in, just to add that extra protein that you want to add to your diet on a daily basis. So I'm back and forth with the benefits and with the, the good and the bad. But as you could see, for some people, the good is not bad and the bad is not good. You could want more protein in a meal, but if you're lactose intolerant, concentrate is not going to be the way to go either way. So that's basically the couple of things I wanted to point out with concentrate as far as what is good and bad. But then there's something that is actually really good. And that is a study that came out not that long ago, Dave. It's been a while now since people have been talking about this, but not so when whey concentrate was considered horrible, right? There was something that researchers weren't pointing out that is actually extremely beneficial. And it's this miracle molecule that they call it. It's a defense protein, and it's called lactoferrin. Have you ever heard of lactoferrin before?
I have not, no.
Yeah, it's LAC. For those of you out there trying to Google it right now, it's LACTOFERRIN, lactoferrin. Lactoferrin is very much present in whey concentrate when you're buying whey concentrate protein. And here's the beauty of this particular miracle molecule, as they say. It helps to counterbalance iron levels in your body. So you have bounded iron and unbounded iron in your body. And everybody knows that iron can be toxic to you if it's increasing at a rapid rate in your body, if it's too high. Some people have low iron, and therefore the supplements that include iron in them in your daily intake. And then some people have high iron, and that's not good either. Well, the beauty of the lactoferrin molecule that's located inside of whey concentrate protein, because of the lack of filtering that they do, is that it helps to balance the bounded and the unbounded iron in your body. And it does a fantastic job of that. It helps with red blood cell formation. It helps to reduce fatigue. It helps to help with soreness. It helps to take care of inflammation in the body. It helps with people who have a problem sleeping. So lactoferrin has all these benefits that are involved. And for people who are dealing with extra soreness after workouts, inflammation in their body, people who are dealing with fatigue on a regular basis, for whatever it may be, for their lifestyle, so to speak, people who are having a hard time sleeping, people who are under the weather a lot, lactoferrin is a huge proponent of helping with your immune system. So when it comes to that aspect, whey protein concentrate is the way to go in so many different ways, right? And so there's the good and the bad when it comes to whey protein concentrate, but I don't want to be that person that throws concentrate under the bus because it has fats and carbs and some sugars in it, because literally that one concept of that one protein molecule, lactoferrin, is extremely beneficial, and why you should, if you can, because again, if you're lactose intolerant, that's not something you're going to be able to do. But if you can't take whey protein concentrate, you should be able to switch on and off on, I would say a monthly basis. If you're doing whey protein isolate 1 month, maybe whey protein concentrate the next month. And if you're, like I said, if you're now this is something, obviously we should always use a disclaimer here. And that disclaimer is always this: you need to talk to your doctor about, hey doc, I want to take whey protein. What do you recommend? Now, will they know the answer? That's a good question. It depends on what type of doctor they are. And that's not a knock against the medical profession. Doctors aren't trained in a lot of different aspects. They're not trained a lot of times in, and I don't want to say supplementation, because believe it or not, let me ask you this, Dave, and for everybody else out there, when you hear protein powder, do you think supplement?
Yes. Yeah, that's the first thing that would come to my mind.
Yeah, and the answer is no. Protein, no, it is actually a meal. It's just it's simply either a
It's
product
like replacement, right?
What's that?
The meal replacement.
Meal replacement in terms of concentrate, and in terms of isolate, it's more to help to support the process of protein synthesis. It's not per se a supplement like a vitamin or a mineral or super greens or super reds or creatine. That's another show. Creatine, that's a big show. There's
a lot of studies on creatine that I find interesting.
There's no way you do creatine in one show. I could tell you that right now. Maybe the safest supplement out there. But before we go down that rabbit hole, getting back to whey protein concentrate isolate, and we're going to have a third one as well. That's basically the breakdown of concentrate and all the nooks and crannies. And there's so much more that goes into that. But, there's so much scientific research out there. I think that's a show that we have, a nutritionist or a dietitian or maybe even a gastroenterologist to come on and talk more about it from their perspective, from a medical professional perspective, what they feel about it. But that's the cliff notes basically of whey protein concentrate. That's a lot of cliff notes. When it comes to isolate, as I have here just some things that I wanted to make sure that I touched on with that. So if you see me moving around with my hands, ladies and gentlemen, I am simply making sure that I have the right notes in front of me that I want to make sure I stay on point with. When it comes to whey protein isolate, so Dave, when I talked about the process of filtering, when we talked about concentrate, we talked about, I don't want to say minimal, but they definitely are not looking to reduce 100% everything in terms of fats, carbohydrates, and all the other little nooks and crannies that you find in whey when they're filtering through that process. With isolate, up to 90% of that is filtered out, if not more. So you're getting a lot higher protein content in the process than you are in the process of filtering out whey protein concentrate.
How do they filter it out? Do you know?
I don't know how that process actually works. Somebody explained it to me in layman's terms one time, and you think I would like, all you have to do is Google and watch a video, right? And I've never really done it, but they said, take a screen door, all right, and take that screen and remove it and set it up, and then take your liquid product. And I don't know how they turn it into that powder product, but imagine it filtering through the screen. Everything else is staying on the screen. Okay. And what you don't want is staying on the screen. And what you do want is going through to the next process. It's like a 4-step process from what I understand.
Okay.
Approximately a 4-step process. In concentrate, they only go through the first step. When you get to isolate, they go to like the second and third step. And when you get to what we're going to call hydrolyzed protein, they go through all 4 steps to get to 100% pure protein. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But when we're talking about isolate, they get to like the second, third step process where 90% of the product is pure protein. So, when it comes to that, I think one of the benefits for those who are lactose intolerant, which we talked about with concentrate being maybe not the avenue you can go. When it comes to that, it's probably going to be easier. Not probably, it is going to be easier on the digestive system for those who are lactose intolerant. Now, does that mean that there's no lactose product in there? No, that does not mean that. That means there's less lactose product in there. So in general, some people may not be able to have whey protein. And that's where plant protein comes in. And we'll talk about that fact that that's another show down the road in a different concept, in a different way. And so when you stick with this concept here that we're talking about now, it's basically a trial and error for those who are lactose intolerant. Start off taking small amounts of the isolate. Don't even bother with concentrate of the isolate and see how your digestive system handles it. See how it tolerates it. And I hate to say you might get lucky, but you might get lucky. I have a buddy who's lactose intolerant, and he's able to take whey protein isolate. And I said, well, how did you go about the process? He said, well, first I cleared my schedule. He said, I never tried it when I had a busy day ahead of me. I always did it on a day when I was going to be home and within striking distance of a bathroom. And we don't want to get any more graphic than that, ladies and gentlemen. But I think everybody gets the idea. So that might be he actually makes a good point. You want to make sure that, when you're doing the scientific research, quote unquote, that you are clearing the schedule and making sure you're at home and try. And if it's working, a little bit more until you get to whatever the bag says is the desired amount, 1 scoop, usually in water. What do you put your protein powder in, Dave?
I actually don't take any protein powder right now.
Oh, no. Okay. You have in the past.
I have in the past. Yeah.
And what have you put it in?
Usually I just use water.
Yeah. Have you ever used milk?
Yes. It tastes delicious. It's like a milkshake.
It's like a milkshake, but man, are you asking for problems? I used to put it in milk and that never fared well for me. It never did. So I try to stick to 12 to 16 ounces of nice cold water when I put my protein powder in, just mix it up and drink it down. If you're out there, some people might say almond milk. I don't know. I've never tried it with almond milk. So I'm sure the taste is a huge, it's definitely, if you ask a consumer, what are they looking for in a protein powder? Taste is always top 3. It is.
Have you ever had, I think it's Core. It's called Core. It's like a chocolate protein shake protein shake.
Man, I want to say I've seen this, but I've never done it.
They sell them in the store at work. I think they're like 25 grams of protein or something like that.
Wait a second. Yes, I have. They're in the little cubicle store at Lansing Delta. I have got, that was a go-to for me. But I remember reading the back of that bottle and thinking, okay, I don't know how much of this is pure protein. Right. When we talk about the filtering process and what is 35 to 80%, of the protein they say that's in the bottle and what is 90% of what they say is in the bottle. So
Mhm.
that's the only thing. But in a bind, you forgot your protein drink? Sure. I mean, every day, probably not a good idea. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, it was like $3 a bottle.
Yeah, probably.
You got to work
Uh,
overtime. Yeah.
Now, what is the what? Because you had mentioned not every day. How often should somebody be taking a protein shake, and like when is the best times for that?
So, so could we hold that question
Yeah.
and get through isolate first, and then we could do that, and then we'll talk about that. Just a couple more things I want to point out about isolate. Uh, Basically, another fantastic thing when it comes to isolate is that if you're specifically looking to build lean muscle tissue after a workout, isolate is going to be the way you want to go. If you're looking to add something to the body after a fast, after an empty stomach is upon you, it doesn't have to be, I fasted for 16 hours and now I'm ready to break my fast. It could be, I woke up in the morning, I drank a nice cup of, I had my apple cider vinegar. I had a nice cup of warm water with Himalayan salt in it, and now I want to drink my shake in the morning. You still fasted for approximately 8 to 9 hours on a great night's sleep. Okay, I'm really pushing it probably for so many of us, but this is where you want to introduce the isolate more so. And the reason why is because, and this is going to sound crazy to some, whey protein isolate will spike your insulin levels much higher, creating creating a better avenue to protein synthesis. So protein synthesis takes place when your body is desperately in need of protein. Your body is saying to you, we want protein. We want protein. And this is the best time to get that type of protein into your body because it absorbs faster. It absorbs faster. When it comes to concentrate, the digestive process and the absorption process are a longer period of time. And so that's where you definitely don't want concentrate is right after a workout when you're looking for that protein absorption quickly, or right after a fast, or on an empty stomach when you wake up in the morning. This is where you want whey protein isolate. Um, and that's that's the gist of that when it comes to isolate and concentrate. Now you're asking, before we get into hydrolyzed, you were asking, well, go ahead and ask that question again so that everyone can
Okay.
hear it.
So the other day, I sent you a text message, and my friend Justin had asked me if the protein that he was taking, when would be the best opportunity for him to take it, at night after his workout or in the morning on essentially, I guess, an empty stomach.
Yeah. And so and when I responded to Justin, well, I responded to you and
Yeah.
you sent it to Justin. The key here is you don't really want to take whey protein, especially whey protein concentrate, late at night. That is not the time of day to take your whey protein. When you want to take whey protein is either on an empty stomach when you wake up, or that 2 hour window before you work out, all the way to that 2 hour window after you work out. A lot of people get this misconception that you have to take your protein in immediately following a workout. That's the best time to do it. I'm not saying that it's not a good time to do it, but let's say you got a workout in at a gym that's 45 minutes away, Dave. You forgot your protein shake. A lot of guys will say, well, I missed my window. You didn't miss your window. When you get home, first of all, I don't know why you're working out at a gym 45 minutes away, but let's just say you were, okay? Or let's say you worked out and then life got you. You had to run the kids here. You had to run the kids there. We don't know anything about that. You have to you got an important phone call and you had to handle that situation. You hang up the phone and you look at the clock and you say, "Wow, I might finish my workout 50 minutes ago. I just missed my entire window." You did not miss your entire window. You are still well within your reach of protein synthesis at its highest peaks. And that is when you should take in your protein. as far as your protein, whey concentrate or whey isolate, whatever it is you're doing that day. I would say isolate after a workout or after, if you're breaking your fast. So that also depends on when are you breaking your fast. Are you a guy who breaks your fast at 4:00 in the afternoon? That's when you're going to go ahead and take your whey protein isolate. Are you a person who breaks their fast at 10:00 at night? I don't recommend that.
Yeah.
That means you started your fast at a really weird hour, and now you have to start eating pretty late at night, right before you go to bed. And I don't agree with that. Try to set your times up where your fast is going to be broken either late in the morning or sometime mid-afternoon to late afternoon. Never where you're breaking a fast at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. But I say, from my own professional opinion,
unless you're on third shift.
Unless you're, well, yeah, that's just another example of why third shift is just not the way to go. I mean, some people like, you're not on third. Are you on third shift?
Me? No.
No.
We should talk about, that should be an episode.
What working third shift does to your body?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a great episode, I think.
Yeah. Just the production of melatonin and how the body naturally produces that at a certain time and what the purpose of melatonin is. And there you are shooting bolts and hanging tires and working on an engine. And that's not, and your body's looking at you and say, what are you doing? They pay you more money on that shift for a reason, because health wise, it is not the way to go. And I did it. I did third shift for 7 years and I was a zombie. I would never go back. The money's not worth it. It's not.
And it ages you so much. Like, I've seen so many people that are on third shift. You see them when they first go, and then you see them like months later or a year later, and you're like, whoa, what happened to you?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like, it reminds me of when somebody runs for president of the United States. They have dark hair. No wrinkles. And if they make it through 2 terms, they look like they aged 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's just, and that same type of oxidative stress is taking place on your body.
Yeah.
And it's funny. And that's funny because that actually is something that I didn't mention when it comes to lactoferrin. When we were talking about the protein molecule, the miracle molecule, the defense molecule, lactoferrin is a huge proponent of antioxidation. Huge. So when you talk about that balancing of bounding and unbounding iron in your body, Dave, if you take a piece of iron outside, the iron or steel, what happens when it sits out for long periods of time? Or even if you bite into an apple and set it on the counter for the day, oxidization, right, takes place. That apple turns a dark brown. Steel begins to do what?
Dry out,
rust. All right. You start seeing rust over a period of time. So when it comes to antioxidation, okay, which is extremely important for the body, that's what's going on internally. That's what vitamins and minerals are all about, is to prevent that. And that's what lactoferrin does. It helps to prevent oxidization in the body, which is what's eating away at your cells. And so that's just another proponent or another, I say, benefit of the whey protein concentrate, and why it's unfortunate that you don't have a whole heck of a lot of lactoferrin within the isolate process. And it's not that it's all gone, it's that it's not as bountiful as it is in the concentration process. So it's a good thing you mentioned that, because that was something I forgot to mention when we were talking about that earlier. So we kind of know when to take our protein. We kind of know what concentration is and what isolate, is, and what the difference is between the two, and how sometimes the benefits for some are not the benefits for others. And there is the good and the bad when it comes to both. And there is a good time to take each one when it comes to when to take concentrate and when to take isolate. And like I said, the best thing to do, if you can, is to do the back and forth game with them. Go concentrate for a week and then isolate for a week if you're somebody who can take either one and there's no problems, with the digestive system. Or go through your entire product of isolate. And when that's empty, make sure you have your next product of concentrate, whatever product you're going to go with, ready to go. Then go back to isolate again. I personally like to have both on hand so that If it's a workout or if it's a fast, I like to go with isolate. If it's me adding some extra protein to my meal, or if I'm under the weather, I like to go concentrate. So I have both. And I was huge anti-concentrate for the longest time until I started looking into that research. And you can find that research easily, folks. The power of the internet. You just have to watch who you're watching and who you're listening to. It takes time to really learn who's trying to do this just to sell their product and truly is invested in the health of the human of a human being. So,
would you happen to have any sources that people could go to look up that information?
So several people that I trust immensely. Jeff Gavalier, Athlete X. Have you ever watched him before?
I have not, no.
He's a physical therapist. He's a professional trainer. He trains professional athletes. I believe he trains actors as well. And he has his own YouTube channel, Athlean, ATHLEAN space X. Jeff Gavalier. He has his sidekick who was a lacrosse player in college, Jesse, who is like a protege of his. And he took this skinny little kid and built him up to a respectable athletic figure. And Jesse is his sidekick now. And they do a little bit of back and forth on the channel that is kind of like, I don't know, I guess you could say, okay, that's not funny. You know what I mean? But they like to add comedy to it. But Jeff is fantastic. I trust him with everything he says for sure. Thomas DeLore is one of the best out there. Biochemist Thomas DeLore. His journey in life was amazing. And how he went from about 270 pounds to 180 pounds. And the thing about Thomas, it may turn some people off, is he gets really deep into the science of everything. And sometimes when he starts talking, he will lose the general population who does not care about some of the terminology that he uses. And it's like talking a different language. And I think he realizes sometimes and he dials back. But you can find a ton of shorts from him, just short 3, 4, 5-minute videos where he talks about everything from different types of exercise to antioxidation to every supplement out there to why the digestive system works the way it works, to proteins, the good, the bad, the ugly when it comes to proteins. He always dials back. This is another thing I like about both him and Jeff. They'll put videos out about the research that they have found and what they like. If something changes, they will dial back and correct themselves. They do not sit there and act as if everything they say is etched in stone. They understand the human aspect of scientific research, the trial and error, and they always hold themselves accountable. So that's why I like them too as well.
Yeah, that's how you know you can trust somebody, when they can publicly correct what they have said.
Yeah, for sure. And then one of my favorite, Dr. Gabrielle Lyons. Have you ever seen Dr. Gabrielle Lyons speak before?
No, I have not.
She's fantastic. She's absolutely fantastic.
That's Lyons, like Lyon.
Yeah. Dr. Gabrielle Lyons. She is absolutely fantastic in how she does a lot in layman's terms. So she really breaks it down to where people can understand what it is she's talking about. She's a different kind of doctor. She's a doctor. She's a medical doctor, but she understands the portion that everybody needs to understand. Why break it and then try and fix it? That's her whole, to break it down simply. Why break it and then try and fix it? Why not prevent that from happening in the first place so that we don't have to fix it down the road? And you understand where I'm coming from with that. It's what doctors are taught in medical school and how that has to change.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I didn't play one on TV. And I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, ladies and gentlemen. But that's an old commercial, Dave. Do you know that commercial when I say that?
It sounds so familiar.
Folks, you can see the age difference between the hosts here. There used to be a commercial where the Holiday Inn had this thing where the person didn't work for NASA, but they stayed in a Holiday Inn last night. So if you stayed at a Holiday Inn, suddenly you were a NASA expert. So I always say I'm not a doctor, but I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, or maybe I did. I don't know. It depends. So I mean, if I'm up in Lansing, I might be staying at a Holiday Inn. I don't even know if there's I haven't seen a Holiday Inn of Lansing.
I haven't seen one. Yeah, I think there is one actually by work, like over
Oh,
by
okay.
like the motorcycle place.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So maybe I'll stay there, and that way I'll understand the AMA a little bit better, and I'll have the expertise and the knowledge to be able to preach on that. But doctors, they I think a lot of doctors are interested in understanding that though now, where they're saying to themselves, we desperately need to understand the wellness part a little bit more, the supplementation part a little bit more, not just telling people, yeah, you should take your vitamins and off you go, eat better and lose some weight, start exercising. I think they want to understand a little bit more what that means, deep down. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Change is good. And so that's a good thing when it comes to the AMA, or just, well, not the AMA, but doctors themselves who are breaking the norm in the industry on a regular basis. And Dr. Gabrielle Lyons is one of them. So she's fantastic as well. If you ever want to see some of I could tell you this. You ever watch the podcast, the Andrew, is it Uberman?
Huberman, yeah.
Huberman? Yep. Yeah, Huberman. I believe he is a research scientist, professor at University of Stanford.
Yep.
And he had Dr. Gabrielle Lyons on several times. But he has some fantastic people on there where they really break down the science and the understanding of everything. And this is one thing that they break down on one of his shows is protein synthesis and understanding protein when it comes to whole foods, when it comes to supplementation, when it comes to protein powders. So if you guys if you're looking for a new podcast out there, it's a long show usually, but break it down into half-hour segments at a time while you're listening and take notes. Andrew Huberman, fantastic when it comes to being able to understand the human body. And when it comes to protein powder, every one of those four that I just listed are the way to go. Even Tony Horton, P90X, he does a nice job sometimes when it comes to breaking down the understanding of nutrition and the effects of it, not just exercise. So
yeah, I like Huberman a lot because he doesn't give his opinion about things typically. It's based on studies and research.
No, he does it. He basically lets the expert on the show do all the talking. And I think he does keep the expert on track in a way that he wants the show to go, that Andrew wants the show to go, but he's very respectful to the guest and allows them a lot of leadway to get everything in. I think that's why the show's so long.
Yeah.
It's fantastic though. I never have 2.5 hours to just sit there and watch, but once I watch an episode, I'll watch a half hour, then I'll write down what it was so I can go back to it and pick up where it was at before.
Right.
It's like binge watching on Netflix. It's just a long
It really is.
Yeah. Just like the Rogan. Nobody watches 3 hours of the Joe Rogan show, but I watch a lot of his interviews and I break them down as long as I can watch them. And then I got things to do. I mean, you do. We have things to do. So there's that. There's that. There was one more concept today that we wanted to talk about, and that was I want to just say hydrolyzed. This is a concept that everybody asks about. Oh, it's got to be hydrolyzed, doesn't it? It has to be hydrolyzed protein. A lot of times you'll see whey protein isolate, and you'll see there's hydrolyzed whey in there. It's a combination. So I'm not saying it's not good, because there's a lot of good, especially again, if you're somebody who is breaking a fast, if you're somebody who is on an empty stomach getting ready to introduce the benefits of protein into your body as protein synthesis is screaming for action in your body, or if you're somebody who is finishing up a workout or getting ready to work out. There's nothing wrong with taking your protein before you work out in that window that we talked about. This is 100% filtered, Dave. Hydrolyzed protein is 100% filtered. So there are no fats, there are no carbohydrates, there's nothing in there but hydrolyzed whey protein, period. There's no lactoferrin in there as well. So now, if you're somebody who's looking for that meal replacement, this is not the way to go. If you're somebody who just got done with the fast, this is the way to go. If you're somebody who is looking to introduce the highest value of protein into your diet after a workout, this is the way to go. If you're somebody who's under the weather and you want to boost your immune system, if you're feeling fatigued often, if you're lacking sleep, this is not the way to go. Because again, that super defense molecule that we talked about, that protein molecule, lactoferrin, there's not even a little bit in there like there is a protein isolate. There's zero in there. So that's not the way you want to go. Your body's not screaming for protein synthesis at that point. It's screaming for health and recovery, right? Health and wellness, well-being, overall recovery. So this is where hydrolyzed protein is not going to be beneficial. The absorption rate is through the roof. It absorbs quickly. It spikes insulin levels quickly. It absorbs quickly. And so that's definitely something that is beneficial if, again, you're looking for that type of situation that we talked about earlier so many times already. That's really all I want to say about that. Is there more that goes into that? The science can go, like I said, the science can go on forever, and we could talk about that. And we will talk about that, over time for sure. But that's really what I wanted to talk about as far as that's concerned today. Those three concepts. When it comes to my note card is stuck to my computer screen. I finally peeled it off. A note card that I was done with, I don't know how long ago. I've been working on that note card this entire show. And trying to peel it off the screen, and I finally did. But it basically, those are the three we want to talk about in terms of whey. Those are the three concepts. And I think the one thing I wanted to get out there today was that I don't like when people try to demonize just for the sake of content to try and get followers. They try to demonize whey protein concentrate. They try to demonize whey protein, period. And, a lot of people will say this, and this is true, folks. If you're familiar with the glycemic index, if you're familiar with glycemic load, glycemically speaking, whey, Dave, is higher on the glycemic index than bread. It's like some 87% of your insulin spike blood sugar levels when it comes to the ingestion of whey protein. And so that's where another reason why I don't promote it being taken right before bed, where you're sedentary for the next 8 or 9 hours.
Right.
I promote taking it when you're going to be active.
What do you think the time frame for that should be? Like 2 hours before bed?
And even more so, even more than that. Yeah. Because when you are spiking your insulin levels that high, it may be a period of time before the body's able to go through all that glucose in your blood sugar in order to burn through that as its primary source of energy to get to that secondary source of energy that we all want to burn, and that's body fat. So when you ingest food on a high glycemic level, you want to be active. And this is a whole other show. But we're going to talk about walking. There's going to be an entire show about walking. Yes, because it's extremely important. But you know how they say, I just want to point this out real quick. And there's one more thing I want to say about whey. You know how they say, I grew up with this, right after you eat, you should go sit down and rest. No. That is absolutely the worst thing you can do. Right after you eat, you can't get back in the pool. I think our parents just did that growing up in the 80s. Don't get back in the pool. I think they just wanted a break. So they just would tell us that. So we would sit at the edge of the pool, literally shaking, ready to jump back in the pool as soon as that clock hit 30 minutes after we ate. And really, that's the worst thing you can do. Get in there and start burning exactly what you just ingested. Use that energy quicker. So if you're ingesting whey protein an hour before you go to bed, you're not even, it's like you might as well eat 4 donuts while you're at it when it comes to, where it's at on the glycemic index. And so that's another thing. I want it done when your body is in full go.
So it would almost be better to take whey protein before a workout. Typically.
It's so you know what some people do? They'll split it, and let's say it's 1 scoop is 20 grams of protein. They'll take a half a scoop before they work out and a half a scoop after they work out.
Okay.
I can't argue the science there. I'm not going to argue it. It's in the window. They're both in the window. And so go for it. And if it's working for you, stay with it. So that's another idea right there. That's even done with creatine, different show. But one more thing I want to point out to people when it comes to, and if you can hear dinging, Dave, can you hear that dinging?
I heard a little bit.
It's so people, this is when people decide to contact me when I'm doing a podcast. It'll be silent for the next 3 hours after the podcast. So I apologize for that, folks. But when you are looking at protein, if you look, and I don't know if you can see, Dave, if I bring it up close here, if you look, you can see the serving size, right? I'm bringing it right into the screen there, the serving size, and it comes out to 1 scoop is 26.21 grams. Then you look at the protein content. This is whey protein isolate, by the way. Then you look at the protein content, and it's 20 grams. Folks, if you're looking for a protein, okay, when it comes to isolate especially, you're looking for something that within the product, not the process. Remember we were talking about the process when it comes to concentrate. It could be anywhere between 35 and 80% protein sufficient or efficient. And when you're looking at isolate, it's up to 90% efficient, if not more. Not the process, the product. You should always be looking for over 70% protein. Now, I don't want to say concentrated protein, but protein in terms of the amount of protein in the actual serving you're going to take. Okay. So when you have 26.21 grams of ingredients in 1 scoop, so it's not just the protein, but you have 20 grams of protein, you take the 20 grams of protein, you divide it by the 26.21 grams in that scoop. Everyone's going to be different here. When I do that, I know already for a fact without even doing it on my calculator, it's approximately 77% protein. It's above that 70% threshold that I'm looking for, which means out of this isolate here, which is organic, by the way, this product here, I am getting 77% pure protein. That's what I'm looking for. Sometimes you'll get up to 83, 84, 85% pure protein. Now, if you get a whey protein isolate and you look at the grams of ingredients per scoop, and then you look at the protein per serving, and you divide the protein per serving by the grams, and you get 58%, that's not a good protein. So look for that on the bag. That's one thing I want to do in our ingredients segment of the show today. Look for that part on the bag and do that math, folks, before you grab that. If you are looking for protein synthesis at its finest, do not grab something where it's 58, 59, 60% protein per serving. And that's how you figure it out. Grams of protein divided by grams of ingredients in that 1 serving. That is definitely a must and an extremely important aspect when it comes to what are you looking for. And then I think the other thing, wrapping up today, Dave, and obviously if you have any more questions, but I think the other thing wrapping up today is the one other thing I want to point out when it comes to ingredients. We're going to get more into ingredients in the future, like soy lecithin. Lecithin, what is that? That says soy in it. Is that bad? Is that good? There's both there. There's arguments in both. Soy lecithin, folks, is an emulsifier. It basically is, it helps a product not separate and clump up. It's more, it's basically just helping that consistency process in the product when you're drinking your protein shake. And there's some bad things out there about soy lecithin. Notice how hard it is for me to say the name of this product. But there's a lot of good things out there, meaning it's not bad.
This is soy protein that you're talking about.
So it's from it derives from the soybean, right? But it's not so much a soy protein. So and that's we're going to hold that right there for a different show. That
I have lots of questions on that one.
Yeah, and there's a product out there. I'll just give you one product example, and we're not tied to this product in any way, shape, or form. Isopure. We're not sponsoring Isopure. If you're out there and you're an executive for Isopure, find us. We'll be more than happy to do a commercial with your product. But Isopure, in its finest form of whey protein isolate, has 2 ingredients on the back of the package. You turn it over, and it says whey protein isolate and soy lecithin, and that's it. It's a fantastic product. Does it have any taste in it? No, it has no taste in it at all. It's very bland. I actually add a packet of stevia, organic stevia extract, just for a sweetener. See, we're getting into ingredients now that you're looking for in the back of the pack. That's a different show. We're always going to talk about ingredients like we have the last 15 minutes now. So just keep in mind, try to keep the ingredients to a minimum on the back. Now, if you're getting an all organic product, you're going to have more things in there, more stuff. This one here has grass-fed whey protein isolate, organic cacao powder, pink Himalayan salt, grass-fed bovine colostrum, which colostrum is another ingredient that is extremely beneficial, but there's the back and forth in research that we could talk about in a later show. Organic monk fruit, organic vanilla flavor, organic stevia, organic digestive blends. So you're going to have more ingredients there when it comes to organic product, but still extremely good when it comes to that. I think that's really it today. I know there's one more thing you want to point out, but there is also one more thing I want to point out as things keep coming into my head that I almost forgot. One more thing that may not be beneficial when it comes to hydrolyzed protein. You know how I said that it is 100% filtered? Yes. Which means it's 100% whey protein. There is nothing else in there. When you filter out everything to its purest form of proteins, that means the amino acids, right? Leucine, isoleucine, valine, everything in there that is being broken down to its purest form, it tastes god awful. And I mean, protein in its purest form tastes god awful. So when you buy a hydrolyzed protein that's 100% hydrolyzed, folks, I am telling you now, you better be thinking about what the benefits are for you in that moment and not about, boy, I can't wait to sip on this while I'm watching my favorite show. It is not that. So that is the one thing about hydrolyzed also. And we talked about the fact taste is important to some people. If it's something you're doing where you're, like we talked about, you're rotating your proteins in and out, which is extremely good for you to do for so many reasons. Maybe then it's okay because it's the 1 week where you're like, listen, I'm going to down it. It's good for me in this moment. I'm breaking my fast. This is where I want absorption at its highest level for protein synthesis to take place. This is where I want protein synthesis to take place at its best because I just got done working out and I'm looking to grow lean muscle tissue as quickly as possible with the absorption rate that goes into hydrolyzed protein. That all going on, and you can handle the taste. I know a lot of people that would tell me where I can go, and this is a rated G show today, so I can't really get into that. But that's basically the breakdown. And there's so much more we want to talk about, Dave, when it comes to this, as we come to, closer to the end of the show today. There's so much more we want to talk about with other types of protein. And that's something we're going to do. But I think this is a good time maybe to point out here in the early going of this concept that we have at Rising Above, what we want to do moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry, I lost my voice. I lost my voice for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we delayed. Yeah, we had to delay the show basically because Dave couldn't talk.
It's interesting too, because ever since I started doing the podcast, before that, I never lost my voice. And then when I started doing the podcast, every time I got sick, I lose my voice. I don't understand it.
I don't know. And you don't talk as much as me either. You would think I would lose my voice with the amount of talking I do.
Your voice cracks a little now.
I know I'm still going through puberty. There it goes right there on cue. I still think I'm 13 years old. It drives me nuts when I'm training my athletes and I have a 14-year-old in front of me and that happens. You can see they want to laugh. You know what I mean? And so I tell them, just go ahead and get it out. Go ahead and laugh at Coach Tony. But go ahead.
So the point of this is to offer some sort of, I guess, like free information to people. This episode, for instance, will be free to everybody.
Everybody.
But we're going to deep dive into multiple topics on just specifically protein, as well as other topics that we had mentioned that we're going to cover later on. Like working third shift and maybe some interviews with some professionals and whatnot. So
definitely some interviews with professionals.
Yeah. So to get access to those episodes, you'll have to subscribe to our Patreon, and it's like $5 a month. So it's not that much, and you'll have full access to everything. So yeah. What do you think our next episode will be about, Tony?
We can go in any direction you want, because we can actually commit to it right here if we want. But we have to remember, as we continue to do more and more shows, and Rising Above, folks, just isn't going to be about this. It's going to be about so much more. And once you start, and you already have, David, what I believe is over 200 episodes out there, if I'm not mistaken.
Close to it. Yeah.
Close to it. And I'm like in 8 of them, 6 to 8 of them. But it's going to be a situation where we could say what the next show is going to be. But let's say somebody joins the Rising Above family a year from now. They're going to be they're not going to follow the journey in order. They're going to be all over the place, right? So no matter what we do, it'll tie in to the concept of Rising Above for sure. But I honestly know for a fact that we will be having a gastroenterologist on, and she is extremely excited about this. She's from Oregon. She's actually from Pittsburgh, via California, via Oregon or Arizona, and then Oregon. And she's going to be on to talk about everything you need to know about good and bad gut biome and how that works. And this is just going to be one of many shows we're going to do with her, Dr. Becky Natrajan. So I know that's going to be coming up soon for anybody who's watching us in order. But is there a specific topic you're thinking about that you would want to do next? That's something we could talk about off the air too, for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I was really interested in the soy protein.
Okay.
Just because that's something that I personally, it affects me. So I'd like to learn more about that, because it's interesting doing these episodes, and that, like, these are topics that I'm not too well versed on. Like, you've done studies, you're the knowledge behind these specific episodes, and I'm getting an education while I'm also hosting.
I saw you taking notes. Which is good. Not only is it good because you're taking notes for your own self, but then as you're taking notes, it kind of helps you look at that and say, "Oh, I have a question about this."
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's another good reason why taking notes is not a bad thing. Listen, as much as I know about this, I had note cards in front of me today because, and what did I do? I still realized that I missed a few things in my head that I wanted to get back to, and I had to backtrack because there's so much information. So the soy protein part, that's something that I'd like to do on the Patreon page when we talk about plant protein, soy protein, their relationships. What's the difference between the two? How do they tie into the whey protein syndrome? What is that all about? And when should you introduce plant protein and soy protein? And what's the bad about soy protein? Which I got to tell you, I don't know that we're going to have a whole lot of benefits on that concept. I know we're not, actually. There's just a lot that goes into that it's bad. Folks, it's bad. And we'll talk about that. But and having an expert on along with myself and you to break it down even more so, a nutritionist, anybody, a dietitian, somebody, another exercise science major, who is a professional trainer, would be fantastic, where we can get their side of the story as well. And maybe they could break it down even more so to concepts that I'm not even thinking about.
Yeah.
And their viewpoint. It's always good to have so many different viewpoints because, as I always tell people, you never want to be. I love being in a room of 10 people where I'm the dumbest. I really do, because I get so much information from people that I feel are so much smarter than me. And there's millions out there, folks. Millions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's what I would like to introduce to the Patreon page. And for those of you who are wondering why a Patreon page, why that information on a Patreon page, I mean, and being extremely transparent, we want to build this podcast. We want this podcast to not just be Lansing and Youngstown, Ohio. We want this podcast to be national, international. And in order to do that, folks, we need to have that monetary income in order to build. It's building a business to bring more quality information to the people who trust us and the people who are interested in our show and who will love our show. And so in order to do that, you have to take those types of avenues. And I think it's extremely beneficial for the amount of money that would be asked of you on a monthly basis. You can't go wrong. I'm thinking about subscribing, Dave. I'm thinking about being part of the Patreon page. But I am part of Patreon pages on several other podcasts and YouTube channels, because why wouldn't I be? They offer fantastic information, and I want part in that information. So that's the biggest reason for the Patreon page.
It's also a good opportunity to get involved in a community, because with the Patreon, you're not just subscribing to like a YouTube channel. You're subscribing to a community that you can also be a part of, that you can engage with. You can ask questions, and we'll talk about it live on the show. And we'll give you a shout out or whatever.
Yeah.
As we're talking about it. But so it's a good way to interact with somebody, with professionals, with people that are smarter than me and you and whoever's listening, even. It's just a good way to be a part of a community.
Yeah, for sure. 100% for sure. So
there's a discussion forum and everything. So
yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. And I think that's where we leave today.
Absolutely.
I think that was a ton of great information that I hope everybody took in. And whether you agreed or disagreed, let us know. Let us know how you felt about today's show and any questions you may ask. The Facebook has a Rising Above podcast page. We would love to hear from you. Join, follow along on the journey. Any questions you may have, we would love to join in a discussion with you. And we could either agree or agree to disagree, and move from there. There's nothing wrong with a healthy debate ever.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
All the links for social media episodes, all that stuff will be in the show notes. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.